thanks for tuning in to Turn to the Stars. My name is Andrea Klim, and I'm an astrological counselor and a shamanic practitioner from the local area. And today, the topic of the show, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, is the Star of David. And today being July 30th, 2013, we've had an incredible month of astrological energy. And you've heard that on the last couple shows. We've been talking about that grand trine in water and what that looks like for all of us. Today I am going to go deep into talking about this Star of David that actually occurred yesterday, July 29th, 2013. My friend Judy Johnson had talked to me about this energy coming up this summer, and astrologers everywhere are talking about this, and many people in the spiritual communities have been talking about it. And so today I'm going to shed some light on that for what it means to all of us out in the world, and what it actually the Star of David is a precursor to. But first, just a little highlight of today's show. First, I want to share with you some information about a class that I'm going to be teaching on August 10th and 17th at the Yard Seafood and Steakhouse in Manchester. And that class is on shamanic journeying and shamanic journeying practices. So that's going to be a really interesting class. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But the second thing that I wanted to highlight about today's show is that on August 13th at the Seacoast Astrological Association, which is a Tuesday, I'm going to be the guest speaker, and I'll shed some light on what I'm going to be talking about there. And of course then the highlight of today's show, which is the Star of David that is being formed around us. So first thing, talking about the Shamanic Journeying and Practices class. Again, that is August 10th, which is not too far away, August 10th and August 17th. And it is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the garden room, which is upstairs in the yard. So it's a really incredible class. And just to give you a little information about shamanism, it is an ancient practice that involves a practitioner reaching altered states of consciousness in order to encounter and interact with the spirit world. I was trained by Julianne Santini, who is in Bedford, New Hampshire, for my shamanic practices, and she was trained by Sandra Ingerman, who's a world-known shamanic practitioner. And so I just give you a little bit about my lineage and that education. Shamanism does, though, encompass the promise that shamans are intermediaries or messengers between the human world and the spirit worlds. In ancient times, a shaman was a person regarded as having access to and influence in the worlds of spirits, who typically enter into, a shaman would be a person who would enter into a trance in order to perform healing. And more traditionally today, though, many people do learn the practices of shamanism as a spiritual tool for guidance and to help those they love. And I just want to give you some bullets of what this class is going to, what you can expect to achieve or receive from these classes. You'll learn the history of core shamanic practices. Core shamanic practices encompasses all the different belief systems of any tribal community or any place in the world that practices healing through shamanic practices. You'll learn about the different worlds that the shamanic practitioner can travel. We'll discuss the shamanic journey and methods. You'll view videography and shamanic practices. Learn through a guided journey. So I will guide you on a guided journey how you will personally access these worlds, creating your own pathway in and out of these worlds. You'll meet your animal guides and spirit teachers whom you will develop ongoing relationships with. Learn how to track spirits, meet and communicate with your ancestors. You'll be guided through a journey that will open doors to past lives for understanding and healing of this present life. Very, very intense and powerful process or journey. And you learn how you can help others and yourself through the practice of core shamanism. So again, that is Saturday, August 10th and 17th from 10 to 4 at the Yard, where we have our psychic holistic fairs every other month. This class is going to be upstairs in the garden room. So I'd love to have you join us. You can contact me at Andrea at Turn to the Stars, or by going to my website, www.turntothestars, and just click on shamanism. And that's the best way to find out a little bit more. And then next, talking about the August 17th date that I talked about in the beginning of the show. I will be at the Seacoast Astrological Association, and the topic of what I'm speaking about will be the turning point of an eclipse and key for interpretation. And a description of this is that every eclipse holds a theme or a story that is promised to unfold over the course of the following months. So using the chart of a very well-known Leo, we're all very familiar with, and that is our President of the United States, Barack Obama, I'll discuss the theme of the eclipse that occurred, or of the eclipses that occurred back in April and May of this year, and the turning or the timing of the turning point in an astrological key that I've learned and I use for interpretation. So it's going to be a really interesting topic. And so now I want to go right into talking about the main topic of today's show, which is the Star of David. And as I said earlier, July's energy does help support us and who we are in working under tight restraints. And it's helping us to learn more about who we are as spiritual beings, as human beings. And this is a month that the energy of the stars does help us to adapt and change our attitudes and our realities. So there's that. As you can see behind me, the Star of David actually does look like two diamond shapes or two triangles. And as I said before, that a friend of mine, an associate, Judy Johnson, she had a ceremony yesterday on top of a mountain up in Gorham, New Hampshire, to sort of anchor this energy. So as you can see, that Star of David, which is something that is formed by planets, is actually a six-pointed star formation. And yesterday, the 29th, was when this energy actually really, really was very strong all around us. And I'm going to show you a picture of what that looks like with number 1 chart on the screen here. There it is. And you can see the arrows. The blue arrows are pointing to the Grand Trine in water, which is being formed by, down on the bottom right, Neptune in Pisces and that constellation. And at the very top, like noon, 12 o'clock on the top of the chart, you see a blue arrow pointing to a cluster of planets there, which is Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury. And then on the bottom left, you see a blue arrow pointing up to the North Node in Scorpio and Saturn in Scorpio. There's actually 2 grand trines in water there, which is pretty interesting to look at. And now to see the other side, the other grand trine, which is in Earth, which is, if you look to about 1 or 2 o'clock up on the top of the chart, you see a red arrow pointing down at the glyph or symbol for the moon in that part, in the south node. And then down on the very bottom of the chart at about 6 o'clock, you see a red arrow right on top of Pluto in Capricorn. And then at the very top on the left, I'd say about 10 o'clock, you see a red arrow pointing to Venus, which is in the constellation of Virgo. So we've got a grand trine in water and a grand trine in Earth. And the water is a symbol of our sensitivity, and it is also somewhat of a peacemaker, or brings a sense of emotional bliss, whereas the earth is more solid. And so it is a symbol of integration. Now I'm going to show you another picture, which is a clearer picture of that, and that's this one, the Star of David, which is a diamond-shaped tetrahedron, Merkaba, six-pointed star. So you can see that really clear in the middle here. You can't see the planets as clear, but right in the middle you can see that Star of David, and the three oppositions that join, pull it all together in the middle. So that's a pretty interesting picture. And so coming back to the information about this, this is a symbol of integration, the Star of David, between the heavens and the earth, and it holds a meaning that tells us, as it is above, so it is below. And it bathes us in the waters of our spirit and the grace of our humanness. This symbol is very powerful in supporting us in our manifestation of heaven on earth. And this week is actually the perfect time if you're planning a vacation or you're on vacation. It's a great time for taking that break. It's a perfect time for rest and integration, and for recreation or processing all that has changed in your life since April and May. That's when there was 3 eclipses that occurred, coming the end of May, April, and the beginning of May, and then the end of May. So in preparing your heart for more shifting and changes to come in October. So now is a great in-between time, or what I would call a turning point. And this Star of David really does sort of massage it and support this point of, shifting from understanding where our power comes from and moving that energy right up to the heart. So it's interesting, July 17th was the first grand trine in water formation, and it has held fast. And it's sort of like, it looks sort of like a pyramid, and pyramids were actually built as creating like portals or connections with the heavens, from the earth to the heavens. And that was one of the reasons they were great spiritual places. And as you saw on the screen, that, the grand trine in water was with Neptune in Pisces, and Saturn in the constellation of Scorpio, and Jupiter and Mars up in that constellation of Cancer. So now let's pull it to right here, July 29th, July 30th, today. The Star of David is still present today, but it is beginning to break up. And it comes into focus with the Earth Grand Trine, which is the Venus in Virgo, the Pluto in Capricorn, and the Moon, and it connects it all together to see that incredible formation of the Star of David. So this is a Grand Trine in Earth and a Grand Trine in water, forming this incredible picture of this what we call a 6-pointed star, or a tetrahedron, around us here on earth, helping us to bring the spirit of who we are all together with matter, meaning the human form. So I have a picture of that right now, which is number 3 of the pictures that I brought. There's a human being right around the human form, the Star of David. And this Star of David will bring a great balance to the masculine and the feminine sides of all of us. And that is actually, I have a diagram, which is the next picture in the set of pictures that I have. There it is. And you can see that if you look at the triangle that points up to the heavens, the upward pointing triangle works with the top 3 chakras of the human form, which is the throat, the third eye, and the crown. And it's concerned with our masculine side, which is our relationship with spirit. And then you look at the blue triangle, the lighter blue, and that downward pointing triangle works with the lower chakras, which is the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root chakra, and it's concerned with our feminine side, which is our relationship with matter. And it's interesting, now you look right in the middle of where those two triangles connect. The integration meets in the heart chakra. These two energies meet right in the center or the heart of everything. So there's the 7 chakras all being highlighted through this formation of this Star of David. And here we are, this is forming all around us, and again it is a symbol of integration between the heavens and the earth spiritually. And you know, it's interesting that amongst astrologers and spiritual communities, this formation is known as a grand sextile and a star tetrahedron, and truly is a lovely sacred geometry celestial configuration. Whenever you see one of these, you know, some astrologers, well, I in my research and putting together today's show, sometimes the Star of David, not this particular one, are precursors to war, but not this one. This one is not that. I would suspect it would be a Grand Trident fire and a Grand Trident water, creating steam, which would be emotion, and then the inspiration to act. So this one is not that. This formation is also referred to as what we call a Merkaba. Mer means light, Ka means spirit, and Ba means body. So meaning the spirit body is surrounded by counter-rotating fields of light. So the Star of David forms a portal and an opening, waking up our spirit bodies. So the Grand Trine in water, you've heard us talk about over the course of the last couple shows. That Grand Trine in water, and here we have on Earth, we have more water. And I want to just point this fact out, that on Earth, we have more water than any planet in our solar system. So the water Grand Trine is the great keeper of spirit, and the Earth Grand Trine brings love, power, and change or adjustment to our power centers on Earth. And it brings together the memories of the past and the stability that's thrusting us forward in our evolution. So the star tetrahedron, which is the shape that you've continually seen, which is also called the Star of David, is similar to a microchip. And this is really interesting because, a microchip holds memory for a computer. It holds the memory. And it's the same shape as a silicon microchip. This tetrahedron is exactly the same shape, and so their symbology, they both hold memory. And it's interesting. So I have one more picture here because my husband brought this up to my attention this morning, which is this human synapse, this is a picture of it, and it was stimulated. This is actually a scientific picture of the interconnectedness of cellular memory within the human brain, human memory. And it looks so much like what we're talking about today, which is the tetrahedron or the Star of David. And you can see how the human form holds memory. So we've got this incredible connection of symbols here. And so many astrologers are interpreting this time as a time where there will be a quickening of spirit within our earthly wound and stimulation of the spirit and matter, which is the human form. So it's highly recommended to do what you can to raise your vibration. And that is, of the human form, and to have it connect with the spirit. Because as you all know, we are not only a human matter. We have a spirit, a light inside us, which is what brings us to life. And it's interesting too that what this Star of David is doing, what it has ignited, is for our dreams. It supports our dreams coming to reality through the influence of this formation. And we also have in that chart a Cardinal T square, and that's been holding, staying with us. That is actually at different times until 2015 going to remain with us, and that's a very difficult aspect. It's asking us all to change. Everybody on every level, every being on earth is being influenced to change, and because the old structures are leaving and the new ones are coming, so it reminds us that it will take right action. The Cardinal T square has been present, as I said, all summer and is influencing us to change. And the Star of David now supports the expansion and brings forth the incredible emotion and belief to proceed and with action. So the Star of David does open doors for an amazing wave of love, compassion, and oneness of consciousness. And it is a sort of, and I'm going to describe it this way, tsunami type of rise of, it influences that incredible emotional response. And so emotions are enlarged right now. I'm sure you're noticing that in your life. And it does sort of remind us of the bigger light. When the bigger a light is, typically the bigger a shadow will be. So every action, just to remind you, every action is followed by an equal yet opposite reaction. So it's up to us whether, what we take action on. So it's important with that Cardinal T square that we're careful and that we use caution and during this challenging time of change. But this Star of David does certainly ignite within us to open our hearts. It asks us to open our hearts, and it is actually helping us energetically to move with this time of change. So wouldn't it be great if we could harness the incredible power of water as a power source from, this energy that is abound around us? Because, as you know from shows in the past that I've talked about, that between May 20th and November of this year, our power center, which is our solar plexus, is being highlighted for us to take a look at our power sources on all levels. So the Star of David does highlight our power sources. So there's many of us that are really becoming so much aware based upon the support of this energy. So we're all becoming enlightened by this Star of David. So I wanted to share with you the next Star of David occurs August 25th of this year. And it is actually a twin to the one that we just had that came to full light yesterday. And it is because there is a Taurus moon in this Star of David. So that's only a month away from, not even a month away from today being July 30th. And so that is going to be a twin Star of David. So August 25th. And this is an interesting fact too, that this is the first time this has been seen since 1996. We have not seen a Star of David that was a twin to another one since 1996. So this is a really important summer for all of us. And I do want to show you one more time the chart up on the screen, the very first one, which was in the series of photos that I showed you. That is it. And that is the exact picture of what the universe looked like yesterday at 12 noon. And this was a picture of that Star of David, and actually at one point it was all enclosed completely all around the sides of that Star of David by what we call sextiles, which provided opportunities to connect in different areas of our lives. So it is, again, as I said before, it was a great time of integration and very, very powerful, but we do need to respect the challenges that this chart shows as well, which is what I told you before, which is the Cardinal T square, which is asking us all to change the structures of our life. It's asking us to be careful of greed and the power that comes with greed. That is something that needs to change in our world. He's also wanting us to be careful to think things through. We get these ideas and we get this inner self growth piece of us that's going on. So that's important as well, that, we take our time through these times of changes, and that on an emotional level, that, we want to be careful that we're looking at the facts of things, and that we're not running and hiding from our emotions, and that we're not nurturing things which are toxic. So that is another warning in this piece here as well. But overall, the Star of David, we have to recognize it for its incredible brilliance and for what it does help us to do, which is to integrate the spirit of the human form along with the matter or the human being. And as you know, you've heard me talk about on other shows, we are a spirit, we are a soul, we are a mind, and we are a body. I call that SSMB. And I really want to thank you for watching Turn to the Stars today, and for watching every week, and remind you one more time about this incredible tool of shamanism that I practice, that I would love to teach you, which will be at the Yard restaurant in Manchester, New Hampshire, and that's going to be August 10th and August 17th, and that's one Saturday, and then the following Saturday will be the continuation and completion of that introduction. So thanks for watching Turn to the Stars. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you next week.